Okay. All right, thank you so much. It's really wonderful to be here. I thank the organizers for inviting me. And thank you, Eric, for what you said. You made it unnecessary for me to talk about political correctness. Enough said. But I want to talk a little bit about what's logical and what's common sense today, because we don't hear a lot of that. And I don't think that common sense should be something that is just for conservatives. You know, liberals and everybody else should understand and enjoy common sense also. For some strange reason, sometimes they don't. But, you know, it's very interesting, you know, the outpouring of sentiment that I received after the speech at the National Prayer Breakfast. I got so much mail, letters, books, just amazing from everybody. And some of the more poignant ones were from older Americans who said they had given up and they were just waiting to die. And now they felt a sense of revival once again. You know? And that's very sad that we have reached a point in our lives where there's so many people who feel that they're not represented anymore. And this is something I want you people who are in Congress and who are in the Senate and who are in the White House to understand. You work for the people. You represent the people. You know, if you can understand that. I also got a few nasty grams from people. How dare you insult my president? You are a N-word, and you need to get back. You know, it's just unbelievable, you know. But, you know, when did we reach a point where you have to have a certain philosophy because of the color of your skin? When did that happen? You know, a reporter once asked me why I didn't talk a lot about race. And I said, because I'm a neurosurgeon. And they thought that was pretty strange. And I said, you see, when I take someone to the operating room and I cut the scalp and peel it down and take off the bone flap and open the dura, I'm operating on the thing that makes that person who they are. The cover doesn't make them who they are. When are we going to understand that? But you know, the thing that really is important to me, and it's largely because of my own background, you know, growing up in a single-parent home in the inner city with dire poverty, terrible temper, poor self-esteem. My nickname in school was Dummy. And you know, it was because I had a mother who believed in me. And she was always saying, Benjamin, you're much too smart to be bringing home grades like this. I brought them home anyway, but she was always saying that, you know. She was very encouraging. And, but more importantly, you know, she made sure that at some point we turned off the TV and started reading books. And, you know, she worked a lot. You know, my mother worked 3 jobs at a time. She would leave at 5 in the morning, get home at midnight. And, you know, people always said to me, well, why did you guys read the books? Your mother wasn't there. Well, she would know if you didn't read the books. And the fact of the matter is, back in those days, you had to do what your parents said. You know, you couldn't call 911 or some social worker or some psychologist who said, let the kid express themselves, you know. And there was a reason for that. But you know, the education worked for me. You know, I started reading within a year and a half. I went from the bottom of the class to the top of the class. The same kids who were calling me dummy in the 5th grade were coming to me in the 7th grade. Benny, how do you work this problem? And I'd say, sit at my feet, youngster, while I instruct you. But maybe a little obnoxious, but it sure felt good. But you know, the thing is, by that time, I had a very, very different impression of myself. And education is such a fundamental principle of the success of America. And we're allowing it to go under. You know, you go out there and you talk to the average person now, they may be able to tell you who won Dancing with the Stars. They may be able to tell you who won the football game. but they can't tell you anything that's important. They don't know about foreign policy. They don't even know about the way that our government works and the structure of it and what things mean. And consequently, they have become the ignorant. They have become the unprepared. This is exactly what the founders of this country warned against. They said, our system of government is based upon a well-educated and informed populace. And if our populace ever becomes anything other than that, we will become a different country. They knew what they were talking about. And as witness to that fact, Congress has a 9% approval rating, and yet we return to people at a rate of 90% to Congress. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that people go in the voting booth and they say, there's a name I recognize. I'm going to vote for that one. You know, they have no idea whether that person represents them or not. And what I'm saying to people, the people of America today, is that we are responsible. This is a country that's for, of, and by the people, not for, of, and by the government. And if we turn it over to them, we cannot complain about what they're doing, because this is the natural course of men, and we have to hold their feet to the fire. And that's why we have these complex brains. And I don't say this just because I'm a neurosurgeon. The brain is the most complex and phenomenal organ system in the universe. Your brain, billions and billions of neurons, hundreds of billions, even trillions of interconnections. The number of interconnections you have rivals the national debt. I mean, it's an amazing amount. And it has the ability to remember everything you've ever seen, everything you've ever heard. Your brain can process more than 2 million bits of information in 1 second. And the reason that human beings have these gigantic frontal lobes is because we're the creatures that have the ability to extract information from the past, integrate that with information of the present, and project that into the future, which means we can be proactive, we can plan, we can strategize. We don't have to just react. And yet, that's what animals do, react. And a lot of people today have decided that they rather react like animals rather than planning and strategizing. And this is what we've done now. We're reacting to, what we see as our fiscal woes without planning for the future, without really caring about what is happening to the next generation. And you don't have to be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist to understand that if we continue to spin ourselves into oblivion, we are going to destroy our nation. If I were trying to destroy this nation, if you just, let's say you magically put me, into the White House, and now, all right, I take it back. but let's say somebody were there, and they wanted to destroy this nation. What would you do? Let me tell you what I would do. First of all, I would create division among the people. I would have everybody pitted against each other, because a wise man by the name of Jesus once said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And then I would encourage a culture of ridicule for basic morality and the principles that made and sustained the country. And then I would undermine the financial stability of the country and drive it so far into debt that there was absolutely no chance that it could recover. And I would weaken the military and destroy the morale of the military. That's what I would do, and I guarantee you it would work. Now, the question is, it appears coincidentally that those are the very things that are happening right now. And the question is, how do we stop it? Can we stop it? Or must we inexorably follow the same kind of path that other pinnacle nations have followed before their destruction, because all of those things that I just mentioned are the things that happened to other pinnacle nations before their fall. And, you know, this is not something that has just started in the last 4 or 5 years. This has been going on for quite some time now. So let's not lay all the blame on any one particular person. But the fact of the matter is, we all have a responsibility to recognize what is going on and to use our influence to correct some of these things. You know, one of the things that my wife and I have done is, you know, I go into the schools and we see all these trophies, all-state basketball, all-state wrestling, all-state this, that, and the other. The quarterback was the big man on campus. What about the academic superstar? What did they get? You know, a National Honor Society pin, pat on the head, they're their little nerd, you know. Nobody really cared about them. And, you know, I was aware of a survey that was done in 22 countries looking at the ability of 8th grade equivalents to solve math and science problems. We were one of the 22 countries, and we came in number 21 out of 22, barely beat out number 22. And I was devastated, and I said, we've got to do something about this. And we can't wait for the government to do something about this. We, as the private sector, have got to do something. So we started giving out scholarships out of our own pocket to children from all backgrounds who achieved at the highest possible levels academically and also demonstrated humanitarian qualities, that they cared about other people. And we gave out our first 25 scholarships 17 years ago, and just in the state of Maryland. And now, today, we have over 5,000 scholars in all 50 states. And these are incredibly bright young people. And in fact, just yesterday, I found out that one of our scholars was accepted into the neurosurgery residency at Johns Hopkins. So, fantastic. But the other component of the program is we put in reading rooms. And in that case, we particularly target Title I schools, where a lot of the kids come from homes with no books, and they go to schools with no libraries. Those are the ones who drop out of school. We have a 30% high school dropout rate. We really can't afford that. So we create these rooms that no kid could possibly pass it up. And they get points for the number of books they read, and they can trade them in for prizes. And in the beginning, they do it for the prizes, but after a while, it begins to translate into much better academic performance, and that's really the goal. Because you see, we can't afford to throw any of those young people away, because for every one of those young people we keep from going down that path of self-destruction, that's one less person that you have to protect yourself and your family from, one less person you have to pay for in the penal or the welfare system, one more tax-paying, productive member of society who may discover a new energy source. We need all of them. And the humanitarian part of the program, of the Carson Scholars Fund, is every bit as important as the academic part. Because you see, we are a humanitarian nation. And historically, we have been.